Good evening and salutations, my GH fans. So this episode is weird for me because honestly, tell you the truth, the best part of this episode has been the storyline that I've been complaining about. Not harshly, but just kind of like, all right, this needs to be over with. Winds up turning out that it was the best part about this whole episode. That's the that's of course the Sunny stuff. Now, listen, as much as I want this to kind of just be all wrapped up and everything, the actor has different plans, and I'm not gonna really get into the whole complaining about it, but it is what it is. So we're gonna start with that part first, which is the card game that he plays. Now, I was very I had my ideas, my speculations or whatever about how it was gonna play out. And for the most part I was wrong. So I'm actually happy about that. He winds up playing against these three other guys, and one by one they drop. And it comes down to the last guy. Now, as I'm sitting there watching this, really? As I'm sitting there watching this, I'm sitting there thinking, you know what, at some point, his instincts is going to kick in. You know, as far as playing poker, being able to read people and stuff. And I felt like it did in this episode. He wound up winning the card game against the last guy after everyone else leaves the room. And this guy is pissed. I mean, granted, playing against total strangers, it's going to be a sore loser in the group. I was just surprised it wasn't all of them. They all just kind of left one by one. But this last guy was like, listen, so you just been playing dumb the whole time, yada, yada, yada. AKA, he felt like he was hustled. So he was like, yo, it's not going down like this. Apparently Sonny had other plans, so it really did. Now back at the Tano, I can't even believe I'm saying that. Back at the Tano, this guy, who I cannot remember his name, is there with the papers, talking about, so you ready to get signed? You gonna sign, right? Like, alright, let's do this, let's go. Now Sonny gets in, Sonny walks in, and he has like a bruise on his face, and a cut lip and everything like that, and he's like, hey, before you sign anything, I got the money. And he just pulls out watts and watts of cash. Apparently enough to keep him afloat, or to keep them afloat for like 6 months. Which I was really surprised. Listen, I don't know how much it costs to run a bar. And I don't even know if that's enough. But to them, it seemed like it was more than enough to sit there and cover the costs and everything like that. So they were like, alright, we're good. We're not going to sit there and before that happened, I'm not going to lie, there was this speech that Sonny said, because the guy was like, so where'd you get the money from? And Sonny says this speech, and this pretty amazing speech, and apparently that was enough, and people just forgot all about it. Just forgot all about the question for a little bit, When the guy was like, so where'd you get the money? You got Lenny and Phyllis just looking like, so where'd you get it? He says his speech. Alright, it's cool enough for me. And I'm just like, wait. So he just says a pretty speech, and we're just going to completely forget about that? The cut on his lip and everything? I mean, this scene was kind of laughable because, all these robberies that's going on and everything like that, and, this cop is coming in, suspecting Sonny left and right, and you got Lenny and Phyllis defending him, and now he has a bruised face and cuts on his lip, and he just comes out of nowhere with a stack of cash, and he says some pretty speech, and we're just like, alright, yeah, it works. Okay, cool. Um, but then afterwards, after the guy leaves, and he's just so he's just like, oh, okay, cool. Well, you know what? It's fine. I totally understand, and it's good seeing you guys, and take care. And he walks off, and it was like, wow, you took that L pretty You took that L pretty light, like like way too late. So he walks off, and Lenny or Phyllis, I think Lenny's like, so where'd you get the money from? And he's like, poker. And he makes a joke or whatever, and they start laughing. I'm just like, I okay, alright, sure, yep, alright. So we're just okay. And then the guy outside, of course, I'm like, yo, this guy's so not gonna let this go, and he doesn't. And he calls up one of his lackeys at this point, because I'm assuming a guy like this has lackeys. He's like, yeah, I want to know everything about Mike. Everything. Follow him. I want to know his whole history. So, yeah. That happened. Now, how do I sit down even put it? So, Michael and Willow are talking about Wiley, and the comment that Nina said that hurt Willow as far as not being his real mother and stuff like that, and it also made her think about the passing of her other child. So there's a lot going on, and to be honest, she is still pissed off at Nina. She wanted to knock her damn teeth out, and I was like, you know what, Willow, I would pay to see that. I would really enjoy seeing that. But they talk about that for a little bit, and at some point, this is after Jason comes in, and Jason just kind of gives, Michael the lowdown as far as Franco being dead, and, I think that's about it. I feel like it was other stuff, but it just seemed like it was just stuff that we already knew about. Like, we've been watching this for a while, so it was just like kind of old news. But the thing that was, for me, that was interesting was before he got in the room, he talked to Danny. And Danny's like, I missed you and stuff like that. I haven't really been seeing you that often. And, Jason's like, I'm working. And, that's when Danny's like, Sam's been crying and stuff like that at night. And, he's like, I want to sit there and spend more time with you. Can you just come back? And at first, it almost seemed like Jason was like, well, here's the thing. Your mother... But he stops himself because he realizes he doesn't want to sit there and put the blame on her. So he's like, well, it's just really complicated right now. And Danny's like, I miss you. Come back home. And... Okay. So everyone at this point knows how I feel about Jason. Okay? Jason is a complete and utter badass. I love that character. And for the most part, he could do no wrong. I mean, I will call him out when he does do something wrong. But in my eyes, this guy could pretty much do no wrong. And I've said this story before, but I'm going to sit there and say it again. I watched this show in 2001. I think. Yeah, 2001. And Jason came across as so much of a badass that I actually wound up getting a bunch of black t-shirts that I still have because of that character. So when I sit there and say that Jason is my guy, Jason is my guy. Now with that being said, I know people in the comment section when I was like, he's not there saying that he loves his kid. He loves Danny and stuff like that. And it was like, but you don't love him enough to leave the mob. Now, I'm not sitting there saying that getting out of the mob is an easy thing to do. And I know that he tried before and it didn't really go so well. But, I don't know. Maybe he should try again. I know it's a dumb thing to say, but I just find it really difficult and find it really hard every time he sits there and says that he loves his child. He loves his children and stuff like that. And I'm like, but you don't love them enough to leave. It's like you love them, but you love work more. So to sit there and hear him say, well, I love you, Danny, and stuff like that, I'm just like, but how much? I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I feel like it's somewhat of a little bit of a pet peeve. You know, because he was sitting there saying that when he was talking to Sonny, when they were going out to go get Julian, you know, when he left, and, you know, Sam gave him the ultimatum, which just, she just kind of springed it on him at the last minute, but whatever. You know, and Sonny was, Jason was sitting there talking to Sonny. He was like, you know, I love my kids and stuff like that. I love them to death, and yada, yada, yada. And I'm just like, but you don't love them enough to leave. So you don't really love them that much. I mean, you do. They're just second to the job. I know that when I look at the whole scenario and stuff like that, it's a lot harder than it seems. And I know that maybe getting out the mob may actually even be worse than being in the mob. But I'm just saying, listen, me personally, if I'm Jason, like, Sonny, I love you like a brother, but I may have to turn you in for some crimes and go into WITSEC. Because my kids come first, and yeah. But that's just me, that's just my little scenario. What else? Not gonna lie, when I was sitting there talking, and then I looked at my notes, I'm like, bro, those are the wrong notes. So, yeah, so what else we got? We got, so let's talk about Nina and Valentine. Here's the thing, there's not really a lot that happens with those two, except for they talk about their regrets. Specifically Valentine, that, you know, if he would have did X instead of Z, then Y wouldn't have happened, you know? As far as Peter, and he feels guilty for everything that's happened, and, you know, Nina just kind of reassures him that, you know, you did the best you could, and at the end of the day, he turned out the way he did because that's what he wanted to do, and that's just pretty much just how it is. I mean, I'm not going to get into the whole nature versus nurture thing, but I'm like, bro, at some point, like, the stuff that you did was on you. Now, Nina, you know, he came over there because Nina's heartbroken about Franco's passing. You know, they had a thing, and, you know, regardless of how it ended, the fact that she wanted kids, he didn't, and then, as she keeps reminding everyone, that he ran to a woman that had 3 kids, but, you know, still misses them and still kind of heartbroken by it. Which, I'm not gonna lie, in her defense, I can understand why she can be, feel some sort of way about that. But the interesting part about this conversation is that she talks about Wiley and how she doesn't know she's really gonna have anything as far as the future with him because of what she did. Now, the thing that kind of irritates me a little bit about this whole scene is that Nina doesn't really comprehend, or she doesn't really feel like she truly accepted her screw-up in this whole thing. She keeps sitting there trying to defend herself, talking about, oh, well, I was just doing this, you know, I was just being honest, and, you know, I didn't want to sit there and lie to him, and yada, yada, yada. And how even Valentine was like, yeah, I can understand why they don't want you around, why they don't want you around him. You know, and especially given, you know, Nina once again tries to defend herself, and it's like, oh, well, you know, Carly did this and she influenced it and blah 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 blah, and Valentine was like, yeah, she's still probably not happy about the whole, you know, you crashing her funeral thing, and she's like, yeah, I know, like, sweetheart, you didn't just walk in there, forget to shower in a couple of days, and just walked in there and just was hanging out. Like, you literally came in and started unloading your crap on her in front of her kids while they're sitting there grieving Sonny, and she makes it seem like it just wasn't a big deal. So, like, that attitude just still irks the living life out of me. And yeah, again, she doesn't really fully comprehend what she did was wrong. She keeps sitting there saying that, oh, well, I was just sitting there being honest and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, sweetheart, like, you are just a walking headache on a good day, and I'm just going to leave it like that. But Valentine being Valentine, at the last, you know, towards the end of the episode, comes to Michael, talks about, I have an offer that you're not gonna, you're not gonna be able to refuse. We all know what that offer is. I didn't, and granted, I did not look on Wikipedia or anything like that. There's just my guess, and I'm pretty sure everyone's guessing the same thing. He's gonna step down as CEO of ELQ. In exchange, Nina gets to visit Wiley more. Now, when Michael was sitting there talking to Willow, and this is something that was just a little kind of odd, and I understood where she was coming from to some extent, but Michael was like, with that being said, I kind of put a stop to the whole Nina spending time with Wiley because, her headspace isn't right, and she's just, between her hurting you and confusing him, it's just not a good idea. And Willow was like, well, why didn't you consult me on that, Like, why didn't you, we could have talked about that. You just made the decision, for both of us. And I'm sitting there thinking, Willow, what was your plan? Was you going to advocate on her behalf? Because for a minute it seemed like she was like trying to defend, her spending time with Wiley. And I'm like, did you not just see how much of a disaster that was? But I guess it was just more the fact that, she wanted to be included. And she forgave him because, he was making decisions by himself. So, whatevs. Now, after Anna gets off the phone with Frisco, which he is, he's livid at her. Pretty much like most people are at this point. Anna apologized, and then he hangs up the phone, so, yeah. But, here's the thing about Frisco. She always, Maxie always talks about her, talks about him, and they always talk about him. And I've never seen this Frisco guy. And I'm just wondering, am I ever gonna see him? Or is he gonna be like the show's inside joke? I'll give you an example that maybe a lot of people may not know. So there's this show they used to watch called Degrassi. And they used to have this character named Heather St. Clair. Heather St. Clair was doing all these crazy stuff. And, she was kind of a mean girl. And people knew not to cross her and yada yada yada. Here's the thing. The character never existed. And it was kind of like their inside joke. So I'm just wondering, one day, are we ever going to see this guy Frisco? Anna comes into Peter's office, and Peter is just, just running business as usual. Now, Valentine said to Nina that, listen, he either got to go to jail or someplace, because if he doesn't, I'm pretty sure somebody's going to put a bullet in his head. Jason. But yeah, Anna comes in there, they get into it. And Anna pretty much just was like, listen, you need to let Maxie go. You need to do what's best for her, because you're not good for her. But of course, Peter tries to turn the tables and brings up Faison and how they're similar, and you might have been obsessed with him, and, just a lot of things to get under her skin. Talks about Alex and how Alex accepted him, and, it should have been her that died, and just all this, he's saying a lot of stuff to upset Anna, to throw her off balance, to really get under her skin. And at this point, Peter's pretty much like, I'm tired of being good. I'm tired of sitting there pretending. I'm just going to sit there and be who I am. Sociopath. So while he's doing that, at some point, he's about to threaten Anna. He's like, what I really like to do is get rid of you or whatever. And as he's saying it, he stops. He stops mid-sentence because he hears boots. And he turns around slowly like it's the damn boogeyman that's behind him. It's Jason. It's Jason. And that's one of those things that was like, just to remind people of how cool Jason is, all he has to do is walk in a room. All he has to do is just walk in a room and people just stop. Like, if you're on his quote-unquote naughty list, he just has to walk in the room. And I know that I laugh my ass off. Not just because it was a really funny scene, but just because I'm just like, damn, Peter. You might want to take some self-defense classes, bro. Like, he just walks in and you just stop mid-sentence because he already knew what was going to happen. And I saw the previews, and pretty much all I heard was Jason saying something along the lines of, you know, come at me or something like that. So I'm just like, alright. I can't wait to watch that episode. But, yeah. Let me see if I missed anything. I so missed something. I missed the other part. My goodness. And that's when Jackie decides to tell Chase the truth. Now, I gotta agree with a lot of the people in the comment section. That telling him right then and there, you know, probably wouldn't have done any good. They didn't even get the test results, you know. They could have just literally stopped the interview, stopped the conversation. Jackie could have just not said anything. And to be honest, now I think about it, what the hell was the point of Jackie saying something right then and there? You know? I mean, she was all against it before, but now because of Anna and Finn's wedding, she's all like, well, now she feels the need to tell the truth? Their two scenarios are totally different. They're not in the same park, you know? The circumstances about the fallout between Anna and Jackie are so not the same. So, I really don't understand what was the point of telling them right then and there, and they didn't even find out the DNA test yet. But yes, she tells them, and it goes exactly how everyone expected. Badly. And the only person that's unscathed by this whole thing, that didn't really get any smoke from Chase, was Gregory. Because Gregory didn't know, and hell, Gregory was actually going to come to the apartment to tell Chase. So now he's mad. He's mad at Finn. He's mad at his mother, and he pretty much just kicks them both out. I'm pretty sure, and I'm pretty sure that he was actually supposed to go to work. Like, he got called in. He was supposed to go in earlier. So guess that's not gonna happen. As they're all arguing, as you know, Chase is pretty much that they're giving both of them the business. And I'm just like, not to kind of change the subject, but I'm pretty sure you're supposed to be at work. Okay, never mind. But they pretty much kind of get kicked out, and Gregory's there kind of just to pick up the pieces a little bit. They hug and stuff like that, but Gregory's like, listen, we can't just sit there and pretend. Because, you know, Chase is like, listen, no matter what the tests prove, like, no matter what the DNA results are, you're my father. But Gregory's like, listen, we can't just sit there and pretend that this conversation didn't happen. So we're going to have to sit there and face this whole thing together. Because they're going to go find out the results, and Chase is like, I want no parts of that. But, you know, that's when Gregory's like, listen, you can't, we can't pretend that this didn't just happen, so we gotta do this together. That's just how it's gonna have to be. Let me just double check to make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah, I think I got most of it. If not all of it. I'm pretty sure I probably missed like maybe 1 or 2 details here or there, maybe 6. But I think for the most part, yeah, I pretty much kind of got all of it. I'm not, you know, I'm gonna be honest, this actually has been a lot of fun doing. Past couple of reviews, like, doing this review first has been so great. Like, listen, here's the thing, I feel like, and now I understand a little bit as far as, you know, doing reviews, creating content, stuff like that. You do put a certain amount of pressure on yourself to always sit there and try to do better. I know for me personally, it's because people watch my reviews, and I always want to try to do better. And I haven't really thought as far as like putting so much pressure on myself because I've just been having so much fun. But there's always a little bit of pressure here or there, just because, you always want to do the best you can do. But doing these reviews earlier is so much better. And I'm gonna just ramble for a little bit, so you can probably just kind of stop it a little bit. Doing GH reviews has been really fun. But GH reviews requires a little bit more time, because there's more characters. And I know people don't watch Days or Bold and the Beautiful, but Days is a little more easier to do because they don't have as many characters on screen at a time. And Bold and the Beautiful is literally 20 minutes long. GH is a little more complex because you have more characters. But in a way, it's not, because I've been watching this show for years, so I kind of know the characters a little inside and out. But it's also my favorite out of all the soap operas. I actually, tell you the truth, I didn't even start off with GH. I started off with One Life to Live, and then I watched Port Charles, and Port Charles got me into GH because, they're in the same universe. So, but yeah. So, yeah, with that being said, I'm going to go. I just want to thank everyone for watching my reviews and listening to me rant. Especially towards the end, because it had nothing to do with GH or just soap operas in general. So I want to thank everyone for that. And just, again, watching my reviews. And commenting. Because a lot of times when I'm reading the comments, it does, helps me get a different perspective about certain situations and certain characters and whatnot that I do try to use in my future reviews. Whether I agree or disagree, I'll sit there and point it out and, whatever. So I want to thank everyone for that, because not only do I enjoy reading the comments, but it also does teach me something or give me some sort of insight into stuff that I may not have seen or overlooked. So thank you. And with that being said, I'm going to go. I hope everyone has a great weekend. Be safe. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. And I'll see you in the next review.